Here's something that's almost certainly happening to you right now, even if you've never once noticed it. Money is walking out of your accounts every month for charges you were never actually required to pay. Some of them take a single phone call to shut off. Some of them your bank will erase the instant you bring it up. And a couple of them go past merely unfair into territory where, depending on your state and your situation, the company may not even be allowed to bill you in the first place. And the reason this keeps going is simple. Nobody is going to call you up and offer to turn it off. Your bank has no interest in reminding you that a fee is optional. The charges just keep rolling, quietly, one month into the next, because the whole system is built on the assumption that you won't stop paying until you've learned enough to say something. So that's what this video is. 6 of these money leaks, one at a time, and the exact move that shuts each one down. Now, before you talk yourself out of this, let me clear away the belief that keeps people overpaying for decades. Some of you are already thinking you're doing fine, that this is for folks pinching every penny, so you tune out and keep quietly overpaying on a perfectly comfortable income, simply because you never looked. Others are sure it runs the other way, that these breaks only exist for wealthy people with a tax advisor on retainer, so none of it could touch you. Both of those instincts are wrong, and both of them cost you money. Some of what's coming up matters most to the person living on a fixed check. Other parts matter most to someone comfortable who's just never gone through their statements with a pen. On each one, I'll point out exactly who benefits most, so nobody gets to wave it off as not being for them. And if you rent instead of own, stay right where you are. Not one of these 6 has anything to do with owning a home. Every single one of them can put money back in your pocket too. A quick word on who I am. I'm Tom Miller, and I spend my time turning finance and taxes into plain English for people who are heading toward retirement or already living it. After doing this as long as I have, the thing that still gets to me isn't the dramatic con or the obvious scam. Those are rare. It's the careful, honest person who spends years overpaying charges they had every right to refuse, for one reason only, that nobody ever told them refusing was even on the table. And that kind of loss hides in plain sight. No overdue notice, no warning letter, no red flag goes up. Just a little money slipping away every month that never needed to go anywhere. So let's put a stop to it. The plan is simple. 6 items, one at a time, in plain English. And for each one, the single step that turns it off, plus who stands to gain the most. Hang on to the end, because the last one is one of the heaviest hitters on the list in raw dollars. And it's also one of the easiest to overlook, since it's tucked into a form you put your signature on every single year. Number 1, the bank fees that drain the most accounts while doing the least to earn it. At the big national banks, a standard checking account usually carries a monthly maintenance fee somewhere in the $5 to $25 range. Stretch that across a year, and you've quietly handed the bank a couple $100s for the privilege of storing your own money there. What they'd rather not put in the ad is that the fee tends to vanish the second you ask them to drop it. Banks waive it constantly, for anyone with a recurring direct deposit, a Social Security or pension payment landing each month, a balance that stays above a certain line, or honestly, in a lot of cases, just because a longtime senior customer picked up the phone and asked. And it isn't only the monthly fee. Look at overdraft charges, which often run around $35 for coming up a few dollars short for a single day. Pick up 2 of those in 1 month, and it can cost you more than a full week of groceries. These overdraft and junk fees have taken a lot of regulatory heat lately, and plenty of banks have trimmed them back, but as a rule, only for the customers who actually speak up. And don't sleep on your local credit union. Because they're owned by their members instead of outside shareholders, credit unions tend to charge little or nothing in monthly fees, and you'll usually find a real human willing to sit down and untangle things with you. Who gains the most here? Just about anyone with a checking account, so nearly all of us. And the step takes maybe 5 minutes. Flip your card over, call the number on the back, and ask 2 things. Will you waive my monthly maintenance fee? And do you have a free checking option for seniors or for anyone with direct deposit? If they say no, that's useful on its own because plenty of banks and credit unions do run genuinely no-fee accounts, and there's nothing stopping your money from crossing the street to one of them. Number 2, notary fees you might be paying when the law says otherwise. In pure dollars, this one is small, but it makes the list because in a lot of states, overcharging for it actually breaks the law. Notarization comes up over and over in retirement. Powers of attorney, deeds, healthcare directives, all the documents that stand between your family and a mess down the road. Most states cap what a notary is allowed to charge, often at just a few dollars per signature, and going above that legal ceiling can be a violation. But here's what almost nobody realizes. A lot of the time you shouldn't be paying anything at all, because most banks and credit unions notarize documents for their account holders completely free. So before you walk into a storefront and hand over $15 or $25 a signature, check with your own bank first. Who gains the most? Anyone finally getting their estate paperwork in order, which really ought to be every senior? The step is one call. Ask your bank whether they've got a notary on staff and whether it's free for account holders. Usually the answer is yes, and from that point on, that fee is simply off your books for good. Number 3, the surprise medical bills the law says aren't yours to pay. This is the one that can wipe out the most money in a single move, and when it happens, it genuinely is against the law. Going back to the 1st of January 2022, a federal law called the No Surprises Act shut down what's known as balance billing in the exact scenarios that used to catch people off guard. You go in for an emergency, or you get treated at a hospital that's in your network, but one of the providers who happens to work on you, the anesthesiologist, the radiologist, the ER doctor, turns out to be out of network. Under the old rules, that provider could bill you for the gap between what your insurance paid and their full sticker price. The No Surprises Act made that illegal in these situations. All you owe is your normal in-network share. So if some enormous out-of-network bill turns up in your mailbox after an ER trip or a hospital stay, don't panic and pay it before you've checked whether it's even legitimate. Picture it. Someone gets home from the hospital, still worn out and healing, and opens an envelope holding a bill for a few $1,000s from a doctor they never picked and never met by choice. Someone who simply happened to be out of network inside an in-network hospital. Years ago, they might have scraped together money they didn't really have and paid it out of pure fear. Now, that bill isn't legally theirs at all, but that only helps if they know to push back instead of quietly cutting the check. Who gains the most? Anybody who's landed in an emergency room or gone through a hospital procedure, which past 65 is most of us at one point or another. The step. Don't pay a surprise bill on the spot. Ring the billing office, say the phrase, "No Surprises Act" out loud, and ask them to review the charge. If they dig in, there's a federal complaint and dispute process run through the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. Those 4 words have made bills in the thousands simply disappear. Number 4, paying for prescriptions past the point where you're capped. This one lands on the medicine you refill every month. For years, a senior managing a serious condition could stare down thousands upon thousands of dollars a year at the pharmacy counter with no ceiling anywhere in sight. The Inflation Reduction Act changed that. Medicare Part D now comes with a yearly out-of-pocket cap on covered prescription costs. It kicked in for 2025 at $2,000, and it's set to climb a little each year after. For 2026, the ceiling is $2,100. Once you reach it, you shouldn't owe another dollar out of pocket on your covered drugs for the rest of that calendar year. Everything you've already put in, the deductible, the copays, the co-insurance, all of it counts toward hitting that number. For somebody who used to burn through $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a year just to stay on their medication, that's a genuine turning point. It's the difference between filling a prescription the way it was written and cutting pills in half to make them stretch. Here's what to keep an eye on. If you're well into the year and the pharmacy is still ringing you up for real money, something might be off, and it's worth flagging with your plan. Who gains the most? Any senior carrying expensive, ongoing medications, the people the old system hit hardest at the register. The step. Know your number. If your out-of-pocket drug spending for the year is closing in on the cap or has already blown past it, and you're still being charged full freight, call your Part D plan and have them confirm the out-of-pocket maximum is applied correctly to your account. Don't just keep quietly handing over the money. Number 5, the subscription and auto-renewal trap. This one is built to slip your mind. That's the entire point of it. Think about everything that quietly renews on your card, month after month or year after year. The free trial that rolled into a paid plan without a peep. The streaming service you stopped watching 12 months ago. The magazine, the app, the membership, the warranty that renewed at a higher price than the one you originally signed up for. Companies design these to be effortless to start and a headache to cancel, and they're betting you won't get around to it. The rules have started to tighten, though. Regulators have been pushing what's often called click to cancel. The simple idea that getting out of a subscription should be no harder than getting into one. A lot of states also have their own auto-renewal laws now, requiring a clear heads-up before you're charged again and an easy way to opt out. Who gains the most? Everybody, but especially anyone who's held the same card for years and never once audited what runs through it. And this step is the most satisfying one on the whole list. Pull your last 2 or 3 bank and card statements, run down them line by line, and circle every charge that repeats. For each one, ask 2 questions. Am I still using this? And did I ever actually agree to this price? Cancel whatever you don't want. And if a company buried the cancel button or charged you after a free trial you never knowingly agreed to continue, dispute it with your bank. I've watched people run this exercise and find $60, $80, sometimes north of $100 a month walking out the door for things they'd flat out forgotten about. A streaming bundle nobody in the house watches. A gym membership from 2 years back. A software renewal used one single time. That's real money gone every month for nothing in return. And if you help an aging parent stay on top of their finances, this might be the single kindest thing you can do for them, because they're often the most likely to be paying for stuff they no longer use, and the least able to spot it on their own. Number 6, the one I told you to wait for. State tax on retirement income you may not actually owe. Most retirees never think to check this, and there are real dollars riding on it. As of the current tax year, the large majority of states don't tax Social Security income at all. On top of that, a lot of states hand you a generous break on your other retirement income too. Your pension, your withdrawals from retirement accounts, once you reach a certain age. How that works swings a lot from state to state, so let me be careful here. A handful go all the way. Mississippi and Pennsylvania, for instance, generally don't tax qualified retirement income at all. Others give you a big partial exclusion once you're older. Georgia lets filers 65 and up shield a large chunk of retirement income from state tax. Kentucky exempts a set amount per person. Every state draws the lines differently, but the theme keeps repeating. There's very often a senior-specific break sitting right there in the tax code, the kind of thing a preparer racing through a stack of returns can miss if they don't stop to account for your age. And here's what really gets under my skin about this one. The person it burns the worst is the modest retiree filing a simple return themselves or handing it to a preparer juggling dozens of clients. That's precisely the person least likely to catch whether the break got applied, and the one quietly overpaying the state year after year without ever finding out. Who gains the most? Any retiree pulling a pension or drawing from retirement accounts in a state that offers these breaks. The step. When your state return gets prepared, say it out loud. Confirm that your state's senior retirement income exclusion was actually applied, and that none of your Social Security is being taxed at the state level. If your state doesn't tax it in the first place, it comes down to a single line on the form that just needs to be filled in right. Let me put a face on all of this. I'll call him Mr. Hendricks, and he's really a stand-in for a lot of people I could describe. 73 years old, retired, careful with a dollar, living in a home he'd paid off after 30 years. He was doing fine, and he figured everything showing up on his statements was just the normal price of getting by. But when you sit down and actually walk through it, line by line, here's the sort of thing that surfaces. His bank was still charging a monthly maintenance fee it would have dropped years earlier if he'd only asked. He'd paid a storefront notary to witness his estate documents when his own bank would have done it for nothing. 2 subscriptions were quietly renewing on his card that he didn't even remember starting, and his state return had never once applied the retirement income break he qualified for. None of it was dramatic. None of it was a con. It was just money slipping quietly out of his life because no one had ever sat him down and shown him where the holes were. A few phone calls and a couple of corrections later, and the difference came to real money every year. Money that had been his the whole time. Let me pull it together. At least one of these almost certainly fits you, and probably more than one. The bank fee that disappears the moment you ask. The notary charge you never had to pay. The surprise medical bill the law says isn't yours to carry. The prescription cost you shouldn't be paying once you're past the cap. The subscriptions bleeding your card every month. And the state tax on retirement income you may not owe in the first place. Stack even a few of these up, and you're well past loose change. And here's the part that really counts. None of this is a one-time win. A fee you kill this month is a fee you're not paying every month for the rest of your life. Catch a couple $100s a month in charges you don't owe, and that's not a couple $100s, it's thousands over a year. And across a full retirement, it can run into the tens of thousands, staying in your pocket instead of quietly bleeding out. That's breathing room. It's money you went without for years, not because you couldn't afford it, but because nobody ever told you that saying no was allowed. One serious warning before you go. Anywhere there's money owed back to seniors, somebody turns up wanting a slice of it. Every item on this list is something you can handle yourself, for free. You never have to pay a company a fee or a cut to waive a bank charge, fight a medical bill, or cancel a subscription. The phone calls don't cost a thing. So if you ever get a call or catch an ad promising to recover your money for a percentage, hang up. All they're going to do is make the same free calls I just walked you through and keep part of what's already yours. So here's your to-do list for this week, and none of it costs $1. Call your bank, ask them to waive the monthly maintenance fee, and ask whether their notary service is free. Pull your recent statements and cancel every subscription you're not using. If a surprise medical bill shows up, call and say the words, "No Surprises Act." If you've crossed your drug cost cap, have your Part D plan confirm it's been applied. And when your taxes get done, make sure your state's senior retirement income break was actually used. Not one of these needs a lawyer. They just need you to ask. One last note, because it matters. This is general education, not personalized legal, tax, or financial advice, and I'm not your attorney or your accountant. Whether a particular charge is improper or against the law depends on your state, your contract, and your own circumstances. So always confirm the specifics with your bank, your plan, or a qualified professional before you act. And if any of this opened your eyes, do two things for me. First, pass it along to someone you care about who's over 65, especially the careful ones who'd never guess how much is quietly leaking out of their accounts every month. They're the most likely to be overpaying and the least likely to ever hear that they can stop. And second, subscribe, because this is exactly the kind of thing I dig into on this channel. Social Security, Medicare, taxes, and the money you've already earned but were never shown how to keep. I'm Tom Miller. I'll see you in the next one.